In search of meaning. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast In Search of Meaning. My name is Ethan.
And my name is Julia.
And today we are going to talk about something very controversial and somehow complicated, but
very interesting.
Very interesting. So, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about why do people do bad things. And I would like to start from a quote from one of my favorite books by Gregory David Roberts called Shantaram. And the quote is, "The truth is that there are no good men or bad men. It is the deeds that have goodness or badness in them. There are good deeds and bad deeds. Men are just men. It is what they do, or refuse to do, that links them to good and evil. The truth is that an instant of real love in the heart of anyone, the noblest man alive or the most wicked, had the whole purpose and process and meaning of life within the lotus folds of its passion. The truth is that we are all, every one of us, every atom, every galaxy, and every particle of matter in the universe, moving toward God."
How would you dissect this phrase? How would you describe it?
I would just say that I like it, and I wanted to hear your opinion about it.
My opinion about it? Well, I think it's very complex. Very complex.
Yeah, it is complex, but I find it very true.
So, the truth is that there are no good men or bad men. He said, it is the deeds that have goodness or badness in them. So, what he says is that a person is not natively good or natively bad, but the actions are what make it good or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. It is what they do and what they refuse to do, what links them to good and evil.
Yes, and what he concludes is that a noble man with love in his heart, that's the aim and meaning which goes maybe beyond good and bad things and leads to good. I don't know. But what this quote brings us to is to discuss the nature of bad and good. Like, what do we call bad? Because it's, I think it's one of the basic concepts in our lives. And so to give any talk about good and bad, we should first define what it is and where it comes from.
And, well, before we start to get into philosophical ideas of what is bad, I would like to talk a little bit about how this attitude of acting bad is merely human.
Okay.
And how animals act because of instinct and because of survival. And in a certain point of view, humans also act in that sense. But specifically, we act in a wrong way or in a bad way on purpose. So I would like to bring into the table the game that, if you haven't heard of it, I think that you've been living under a rock, called Among Us. And what this game is, in case you haven't played it or you don't know what it is, it's a game where, like, an adaptation of the game Mafia somehow.
Yeah.
So there are like a group of people, in this case like little astronauts, and in these 10 people, one of them, or even two, is an imposter. And so he is like the bad guy, and his aim is to kill everybody without them knowing that he is the imposter. And so you can play it with a group of friends, and then randomly one of them would be an imposter and would try to kill everybody, and everybody else would work together trying to figure out who is this imposter. but I think it's very interesting because we automatically accept the role of the killer. When you are the imposter, well, I know it's a game, but it's like, okay, you are the imposter. You need to kill everybody. And you act purposely to deceive everybody else. Like, if they saw you did something suspicious, you would lie. You would tell that you didn't do it. And you would even tell that somebody else did it, just so you could be saved. And so people wouldn't, like, vote you out. And so it's very, very interesting for me because I think that game shows the nature and how easy it is for humans to deceive. Even though it's a game, but if you really just analyze the basics of the game, you see a little bit of the structure of reality.
Well, every game is a simplified structure of reality in that sense. That's why kids play games, so they get to know the reality. And talking about taking a good or bad side in a game, well, I think this game is just one of the many, many examples, because all the games which aim to win, I'm not sure if there are those which don't aim to win, they require you to act in the highest point egoistically. Mm-hmm. And Among Us is just where you should act egoistically on your own. Because in the other games there are teams mostly which act so they can win, and to win by any means, because everybody understands that it's a game. The same as with Among Us. You need to win by any means, and as far as your role is to kill, well, you will kill.
This reminds me of this psychological experiment. Well, people start to lose their own individuality, and they just start to act depending on their role. So if you give the prison experiment, I think it was called, if you give people the role of policemen and of prisoners, the policemen start to act in a more brutal way and with more power, even though at the beginning they were the same level, like nobody was anything. And so they just embody this character and they just acted as if nothing happened, which is interesting because once maybe I decided to be in Among Us like the good guy. It's like, no, I don't want to kill. And if you don't do that, well, everything just loses sense, because the thing is that you need to kill. That's the rules of the game, and there's no fun because there must be this conflict.
Yeah, it also just now reminded me of this movie released on Netflix last year, I guess, The Platform, or The Hole, because it's originally in Spanish, where there were like more than 200 floors where prisoners lived, and the platform with food was coming from up to down, and the food was delicious. It was cooked by the best of the best, and people who were on the upper floors, they would just eat as much as they could. They would spit on the food, they would destroy it, so when the food comes down to those who are down, they would get basically nothing. Though at the very beginning it was planned that food given on the platform is enough for all the people through all the floors. The thing is that each month people get moved between floors. So for example, if in September you are on the second floor and you get the best of the food, you get wine, you get delicious restaurant food, and next month you're on the floor 137, and the only thing you can do to maybe survive is to kill your neighbor, because you need food. So the thing is that people who were, for example, in October they were down, and then in November they again get up, and they know how it is to be down, they would still act like bad, destroying people and everything. And talking about all the examples we mentioned, about Among Us, about the games, about this movie, I think a very important thing that is connected to doing bad things is power. When people feel that they have some kind of power, they feel free to do bad things, and they feel that they won't be stopped by anybody, because who would stop them? Who would say no?
But there are people with power who don't act as with bad intentions.
Yeah, and here we come to an interesting point. Why does that happen?
Well, I think it would be just because of the consciousness of the person. And I don't mean consciousness as the psychological brain part, like consciousness, but how conscious you are of your surroundings.
Or maybe how conscious you are about yourself.
Well, also. But what I mean is that if you are conscious of how the world works and what is like... Because something that I based on my ideas of what is wrong and what is right... what is wrong and what is right is that, well, first, you want to avoid pain. You want to avoid pain for yourself, and you want to avoid pain from other people. And you want to, well, in contrast, then you want joy, you want pleasure. And you will do whatever you want to get this joy and to get this pleasure. Nobody wants to do things that will only bring them pain. They will always try to... Because why would you want pain? So, in my book, to do something bad is to act, knowing that you're going to bring pain or discomfort or something merely not positive to other people or to yourself, because always you can harm yourself.
Yeah, and I think we should get to harming yourself a bit later, because I guess that's a bit more complicated. Mm-hmm. Because it's in our nature to gain, not to destroy ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when people start hurting themselves, then it means that something went wrong. But naturally, we are programmed somehow to gain for ourselves and to be in some sense egoistic, because if you are not, you will die. For example, if there is a little piece of meat and there is two persons, and the one who gets this piece of meat will survive and the one who will not will die. Of course, you would do your best to get it, because you wouldn't be like, okay, I am so nice person, let the other person get it and I will die and I will sacrifice myself. Which brings us to the other topic of sacrifice and why people do sacrifices.
Which we don't think we can talk right now. But
yeah. But natural, what I mean is naturally you're supposed by instincts to act for yourself.
Like, I don't think that it's true. I think that by nature you are supposed to act for yourself, but not yourself as an individual, but yourself as a species. Mm-hmm. Like, if there's just one piece of meat and there's 2 chimps, then they will fight. And then the strongest or the most intelligent one will win and will have the meat. So it will be just like natural selection, selecting. Be like, this guy is more appropriate for survival. And so in that sense, well, it would be just that.
Well, yeah, and well, I just think that everything is guided by evolution. Consciously or unconsciously, we all follow the evolution rules. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's true because we are wired in our very basic form, which is our instinct, our primal.
Yes, and they are primal. That's the thing, and that's what I'm saying when I talk about men fighting and winning, because that's what was put into you by evolution.
But that's like, would you consider that fight to be bad?
I don't know.
Because for me, I wouldn't consider it to be bad. I mean, of course, for the chimp that will eventually lose and die, it would be a bad idea. But it's not their choice. It's not their choice to, like, there's nobody outside, like a higher chimp, that organizes these games and will be like, just one piece of meat and they will fight till the end, like gladiators. Like, that would be, in my perspective, something wrong to do, because you're playing with somebody else's lives on purpose. Mm-hmm. But when you naturally have to fight over food, then I wouldn't consider that to be bad, because I consider that to be natural.
To be like survival. But I made this example because that's the starting point. Mm-hmm. Because here we put people in extreme situation, in extreme conditions. And in extreme conditions, we can better see our nature, because it just reveals, because moral just somehow stops working, because the stakes are high. And but there are also situations where the men are not put into any extreme conditions, and where men are just they have a choice, and they have a choice of doing bad and doing good. And I wanted to start from more basic situations to get to more complicated, so we understand how it works better.
Yeah, and so how would you think it will work if it wasn't an extreme situation? Like, if there was plenty of food, do you think there will still be kind of a bad individual? Or do you think everything would be more like peaceful and sharing?
Depends, because when it doesn't go about gaining food, it goes about higher needs, like need of be in safety, need to be self-realized in the form that you achieve everything that you want. And here people sometimes don't have enough of limitations and responsibilities for this society, because they want to achieve, and they want to aim for more and more and more. And here people sometimes misunderstood their own, I guess, desires. Because, for example, it's like extreme situation is solved. Everybody has enough of food for the next year. But one person is thinking like, I want to have enough food for the next 10 years. What should I do? And the best idea this person comes with is that you go to another tribe, you kill them all, you get their fields, their land, you put plants there, and that means you will have more food for the next 10 years. You can save for more. And that's also part of evolution.
But that could be like tyrannical, because like I think there's two sides. There's this side of like, in one side you can just go to the other tribe and make a bargain. Like, hey, I will give you this and you will give me this. And so you can achieve your goal by trading. Or you can also be like a conqueror and see like, I don't care about trading. I will just go and kill everybody and have all the food that I want for the next so days. So I think that you can have like these personalities that either have empathy or don't have empathy, because this ability to feel empathy or not is also a reason why you would act a certain way.
Well, and also not just personality, but also consequences. Because, for example, and that brings us back to like feeling the power. Because when you are at the top, at the very top, and you know that nobody can ever hurt you because you are the best, the most intelligent, the strongest. Nobody will ever bring you back the pain you bring to people. You feel like free. And so many people, they have these limitations in their minds, like what is freedom for them, because your freedom should be limited by other people's freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
So like if they're talking about what is to be free, is to understand that you have freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of action, and blah blah blah, as long as it doesn't overlap with somebody else's freedom. Yes. Yeah. And doing a bad thing is in external way, not in internal way, not when it's pointed at you, at yourself. Doing a bad thing is pretending on somebody else's freedom.
Mm-hmm. I have an answer from Victoria. Why do people do bad things? And she says, because they think that there is no other way to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, like limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Like limitation is the drive that makes you act in a bad way in order to get what you want, because in a certain sense that you've been controlled by life. Like if your life has been wrong, if you have been treated wrongly, if you never had everything that you wanted, or if you had and somebody took it away, then the only way to get these things that you want is to act the same way as life has treated you. So if you think that life treated you badly and always stole from you and doesn't give you what you deserve, well, in some sense, you reflect how you've been treated. Mm-hmm. And you treat other people like that.
Yes, but aren't we supposed to know, and aren't we supposed to be told that reacting with bad
mm-hmm.
Attitude means bringing more bad into the world, and
but for those
you can improve the world only by doing good things. So if you were treated badly and you wouldn't like other people to be treated like that, or you mean that sometimes people's minds work like, I was treated badly, I want everybody to be treated badly. Why do they start even thinking so? I mean, my question is, why do they think so? I mean, you were treated bad and you felt bad, and you know that you would love to feel good, you would love to go back and that everything would work nice for you. But there's no way. And because you were treated bad, you're like, I'm gonna treat everybody else bad so they know how it feels. But why don't they go like one step further, thinking if you bring more bad to other people, they will feel as bad as you, and they would not be able to change anything because, well, you decided to do so and you are more powerful than them. Of course, if you decide to bring bad and you can do it, you are able to do it. Why wouldn't you just make one more step ahead and think that, oh, what if I just act good to everybody so everybody experiences only good and nobody will ever feel as bad as I felt? What breaks at that certain point and people decide to return bad to the world?
Because they don't see results when they act good. Because, let's say, they had a childhood where they were taught to be kind and to share and everything, but because of maybe they weren't socially good, they were treated badly. And so they know that if they are kind, they won't receive kindness. So I think that in their mind it's like, well, why should I try to give kindness again if that's what I did and I never received anything? But if I act in a wrong way, if instead of asking for what I want, I take it, then I could just get what I want easy. And I don't need to suffer by being kind.
Yeah, but for example, my childhood in relation to the society wasn't that nice. Other kids were always bad to me. And I couldn't make friends. And I couldn't make friends till I was 12 or 13. I mean, I had friends, but they were outsiders just like me, and we both were treated bad, like team losers, woohoo! But it didn't make me bad. I mean, at some moments I remember how much hate I had inside, and I was like, she stole my beanie. Tomorrow I will take pieces of glass and I will put in her pocket so she feels bad. Well, just an example. I don't remember what exactly I thought. Or I will take paint and I will paint under her windows like that she's a whore. Something like that. But everything, I don't know why, everything just disappeared in 1-2 hours. Everything was just gone because actually, I don't know why. I just remembered right now I was listening to Sadhguru, like an Indian wise man, philosopher, and he was saying about hate. Because bad things are coming from hate partially. He was saying that with your hate, you will never hurt anybody. You will just hurt yourself. And by hate that you keep in yourself, you will be just destroying yourself from inside. And then you will have diseases and stuff. Even without speaking that you bring hate to people, and people will bring you even more hate back. So I was always kind to people around me. I was quite smart at school, and I would always help others with their homeworks and with the tests that we had and stuff. And I think at some moment they were using me, but maybe at some moment they realized that I'm not such a bad person or outsider or loser. And maybe because I didn't act bad, they somehow learned that you can act kind. What if it was like that? So we ended up being quite a friendly team of like part of the class who at like 14, 15 years old, we just united, and when we had tests and stuff, we would just help each other. Everybody was helping each other. Maybe there was my part in it.
Like, do you think that if everybody who felt this like negative thoughts can just stop themselves being bad by just continuing trying to act kind?
Yes, and you show that example, and there is that thing like psychological. I don't know how much it works, but like, for example, you have a person that you hate, and you wish and this person hates you too. But each time you see this person, you smile to this person, and you think think, not say, like, what would you do good for this person, for example. Oh, not like, I hate this stupid bitch. And instead you think like, oh, Kate, today, for example, it would be nice to invite her for having a cup of coffee. Yeah, and we would just have a nice talk. Or another day you just meet her and think like, I wish that today she has a very, very good day and everything happens good for her. And, well, they say that helps to establish good relationship with other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more quote from Shantaram about love. Mm-hmm. Love is the opposite of power. That's why we fear it so much. And I think it goes well with our discussion because, power is when you have power, you have this control over others, over the things. But also when you have love, you gain power, but different kind of power, which can only raise good. And so I believe that true love can never lead to anything bad if it's true and pure.
Interesting. So, just trying to end that thought. You believe that the circumstances of people are the things that make people act wrongly? Or not?
Yeah. Well, in any circumstances, it's
because something very interesting that I was thinking while you were telling us this is, well, it reminded me of this phrase. I don't remember if it was Jordan Peterson or Carl Jung who said it, but I really like it. It said that the most powerful knight is the one who has a sword but chooses not to use it.
Yeah.
And I can see that, for example, if there were a lot of kids who were also bullied and treated badly and didn't have a good relationship with their family, they would just like lose it, and either they would commit self-harm and maybe even commit suicide, or in a very drastic way they would just try to express their hate towards society, because society is the one who rejects this child. But you had those emotions of hate in yourself, but you didn't express it, you didn't act upon them. You just like kept it to yourself and just kept doing your thing, which was trying to be kind, which was, I don't know, for me it sounds like so brave, because even though you wanted to put broken glass in the girl's pockets and everything,
I told that I am not sure if it's true or not.
Well, hypothetical, like you didn't do it.
It's actually from one movie, but yeah.
Oh, well, you didn't do it.
Yeah, I did not.
And I think everybody has thought to do wrong things, like on purpose. Like I know it by myself too. I'm like, oh, I don't like this person, I'm going to do this and I'm gonna make that person feel so bad. And well, before I did it, now I really tend not to do it, but because I know the repercussions of it. And this leads me to a very important question. I think it's very basic.
Okay.
Do you think, because this is a theme that has been discussed over the last 100 years, well, over the last 2,000 years, more so, humans. Do you think humans are purely good? Do you think humans are purely bad? Do you think it's an in-between? What do you think?
Well, I read the quote in the beginning, which I believe is true, that humans are not bad or good by themselves. It's just things that happen to them, and then they have to act. And it's just harder to choose to do good things because it's just harder, and you just need to commit to it. Because doing bad things is like it's easier. It's easier to bully somebody than to stay positive while being bullied. Or it's harder to gain everybody's respect by not applying power or bring pain, because with pain people understand kinda better, because sometimes people are stupid, and if you hurt a person, the person will for sure know that, okay, you're stronger, I will not touch you, I will not do anything bad for you, so you kind of protect yourself. Because pure love, it's something very vulnerable and fragile, and at the same, even with love inside of you, you need to have your own system of defense. And the biggest mistake people do is they don't have that defense, and they are too naive to the world, and that's when they got just smashed. I also remembered of some other example when I already established more or less fine relationship with people in the school, and we had a PE class, and one girl, she was a basketball player, and she was almost 2 meters tall. She threw this stupid basketball ball to the basket, seeing that I was standing under it. And if you ever held a basketball ball in your hands, you know that it's pretty heavy. It's actually heavier than...
pretty hard too.
Than any of the balls, like harder, heavier than soccer ball or volleyball ball. Yeah, so she threw it, and she saw me. And, well, I there, because it was instant reaction, and when I was 14, I really liked to have very long nails, you know. So I just got to her and I scratched her so hard that these wounds were kind of healing for 2 years, and I'm not sure if there were no scars left.
Do you feel proud about that?
Yeah, because there was no reason for her to do bad for me.
So you felt like a judge, like you did?
Yes, like I always was trying to be fair.
So you somehow felt like you got yourself what you...
It's like I was a tool in the hands of karma.
Yeah, but you felt that you did good by doing that? Because, well, she did wrong, you have to mend it, but because you had the power to do it.
Not that I had too much power to do it. I mean, I was like 15 centimeters less than her and less strong, but that was just instant reaction, and, well, it worked, and I didn't feel bad, and that's interesting. How different can life be even with one person trying to do good always, but doing bad once and feeling that... And don't feeling bad after doing bad.
Well, stepping a little bit back, in my perspective, humans are both. Humans are good and bad, natively. And, well, because of my universal point of view in that sense, we are constituted by the known and the unknown, or... order and chaos. And there is several myths, if I remember, Mesopotamian myths and even some Etruscan myths, that humans are made out of chaos. And so our whole being is chaos, And the only part that isn't is our consciousness. And our consciousness represents this order, this Apollonian view of the world. So, and that's why we have this like battle between in ourselves of doing good and doing bad.
Yeah, it's like this story is like there are two wolves inside of you, and there are two wolves inside of you, like a good wolf and a bad wolf, and if you and it's just a matter of who you feed. If you feed a good wolf, you will be good. If you feed a bad wolf, you will be bad. But that seems to be logical, right? But the truth, the real truth, is that you need to feed them both, because if you don't feed the bad wolf, it will be very, very, very mad, and because it will be very, very mad, it will take over.
Yeah, it's true. People who just start to have bad feelings and don't express them in some way just absorb them for years, and there's just one moment when the last drop of water spills the glass, and that's the moment where he either punches somebody or he goes crazy or something just bad happens. And I really do believe that we all have our own shadow, our own bad part. And I think this is why I really like the story of Star Wars so much. Because it's like the story of everybody. You, in some sense, you are your own chosen one. But you have to be careful with your path, because even the most promising little boy who seemed so good can become the most hateful and darkest person in the whole galaxy. And he gets controlled, he gets abducted by this ideology of evil.
I was waiting for you to start talking about Star Wars.
No, it's true. Like this ideology of evil, which I think ideologies are something that really make you act in a certain way and stop thinking about the entire thing and just think to benefit that ideology. And we can see it in Hitler, for example.
He was aiming for good. Like, he wanted a pure, perfect nation by exterminating the others who he considered to be bad. But, yeah, he was aiming for good, kind of.
Well, he was aiming for good based on his own ideology of that they were the main and the most powerful race.
Yeah.
But because of that, because of this blindness and his devotion to his ideology, he, on purpose, committed these crimes, these human crimes. The way he killed thousands of people. He didn't kill it personally, but the way he...
Oh, yeah.
And the way he controlled the masses with his speech and with this ideology, and can also be contrasted with, for example, how Stalin or how the Soviet Union somehow had this ideology of communism, of how we will build the perfect state and how we will all be together, we will achieve this utopia. But to get this utopian state, we have to do horrible things. Well, they didn't say it as horrible things, but they would try to somehow put it with sugar and cherry on top and say that it will be great and it will be the best thing we can do, so we will have the best state ever.
Without any freedom, like we have in one of Korea's, I always forget.
North Korea.
Yeah, like we have in North Korea. Sorry for my geographical knowledge. Well, one of my friends said that bad things, it's like an announcement of your freedom, of your limitless freedom, though shown in a wrong way, because you go over all the morality, all the rules, and that brings you some kind of euphoria, like very dangerous one, but that gives you this euphoric feeling of being super powerful and of being able to do whatever you want. And here, because we've been already talking a lot about external bad things, I think we should start talking about like internal, in the sense, like, why do people do bad things to themselves? And talking about euphoria, why do people do bad things like taking drugs, distracting themselves, and etc.?
So basically, just to get the train running, when you do wrong to yourself, we are basically saying that you are doing wrong to your own survival, right? To something that doesn't bring you anything beneficial to your human state, but will just make it wrong, like make it bad.
Yeah, and it's like, instead of hurting others to benefit something, you start hurting yourself. And the thing is that, why would you hurt yourself if you don't benefit anything? And well, you do benefit something, and the question is what? Because, well, with drugs you benefit this special state that you achieve and that tricks your mind. With alcohol, cigarettes, the same. But why do people harm themselves by, for example, falling into bad and negative thoughts, like hating themselves? Why they humiliate themselves if they do not achieve and do not benefit, or do they? Like, why would you think that I'm bad, I'm nothing, I can't do anything, I should not exist and stuff? Like, where's the beneficial part of that? Why does that happen? What do you think?
Well, I think because you have been, like, just as going back a little bit, just as Hitler was consumed by his ideology, when you harm yourself, you are consumed by your own shadow. And just to remember, shadow is this dark part of the psyche of every person. And so people who always believe that they're great in themselves, well, they have extremely big egos. But when your shadow just starts to get a lot of power, it just controls your entire being and makes you think and makes you act just upon that. You act because of how bad you feel about you. And you don't act because how bad do you feel about you. And it just keeps you from going forward, because this shadow, this biologically, is trying to help you in some sense. That's why, in my perspective, we have both ego and shadow, because they are necessary. And if one controls the other, well, it leads to a bad psychological state. But so when the shadow just takes too much control, is that you're just like in the bliss of chaos. And what is that? It's like you try to feel connection with pain, because pain is the only thing that will make you feel alive, or etc.
What if we do bad things to ourselves when we feel powerless according to anybody else? Like me. let's take my example again. For a certain amount of time, I was not able to show anybody that I'm worth talking to, I'm worth being friends to. So I felt powerless in that sense. And that made me turn to myself, where I could feel limitless because I cannot punish myself, because I cannot bring to myself like consequences. I mean, they will appear eventually, and they do appear eventually, but at some point you just turn to hating yourself because and to do bad things to yourself because you cannot do bad things to anybody else, but it makes you feel power. And in that sense, you get addicted to power as well as people like tyrants get addicted to their powers.
So it's like a form of, like the inner form of tyrant dictator. Instead of applying this wrongness to society, you apply it to themselves. They apply it to themselves.
Yeah, and I never thought of that actually, but I just thought of right now because, well, this quote that said that the opposite of power is love, and that's why we fear it too much. And yes, like if we, instead of power, we give to Hitler love, well, who knows what would have happened, right?
Well, that's what everybody says. What happens if he was accepted in art school?
Yeah, and if he was full of love, how much love would he bring to the world with his leadership abilities? Yeah, and the same is according like a relationship of each person with themselves. It's like you can love yourself, and if you love yourself, why would you hurt yourself? Why would you ever take drugs, smoke, humiliate yourself by saying that you are nothing and that you're worth nothing, that you won't achieve anything? Because you would never do something like that to the person you love, like that you really love. Like if I love a person, I would never do bad things for that person. And it's the same, but the perspective, and I mean not perspective, but the direction is not from inside to outside, but the direction is from inside to inside. Yeah, if it makes any sense.
No. It makes total sense. I'm looking for this quote. I can't find it like right away, but I'm just gonna paraphrase it a little bit. And it went something like, it's by Carl Jung, and it said, the only reason why people did wrong, like either to your outer world or inner world, is because you are unable to tell your story. And what for me means to tell your story is to understand what's happening around us. And for me, that's like kind of the love, because in order to love, you need to understand either the other person or other people or the thing that you love, because you understand it. And so when you really understand the things around you, when you give 5 minutes of your time to read into your thoughts, read into your emotions, then something lights up and you can just start to move away from that feeling of hatred and of wrongness and start to act in a more positive way, or at least what feels in a more positive way. And if you just perceive this like as a narrative, like the downfall before the rise, everything starts to make a little bit more sense, like either in your inner world or in your outer world.
Okay, do we have any more questions from our listeners?
Not. I think we have one more question. It's from Daniel, and well, he basically asks, "What is a bad thing?" I think people do most things for need or pleasure. Other actions come from stress and from desperation or mental illness.
Well, I guess we pretty much discussed that already.
Yeah, I would. We didn't talk about mental illness like somebody who's psychotic, but I think I touched it a little bit with the idea of the ego and the shadow. When they're unbalanced, like heavily unbalanced, it would be classified as a mental illness in some sense, something that would need to be addressed.
Okay, here I think we can end our discussion, and
we hope you like it, and we hope you hear us next time. Next time our subject will be about personalities, about extroverts, introverts, type of personalities, archetypes, and hopefully you'll stick around and hear us.
Yeah, so if you have any questions about extroversion, introversion, personalities, or archetypes, you're welcome to send it to us. And for now, bye-bye.
Bye.